To begin, we will define what makes a good villain. According to Noveler.org, a good villain should be intelligent, charismatic, have a believable motivation, and be connected to the main character. So, what led Ashfur to become the... He was a pretty nothing character from his first introduction in The Prophecy Begins, and didn't gain much real characterization until the late second and third arc when his relationship with Squirrelflight is explored. He at first, but then he shows himself to be possessive and controlling towards Squirrelflight. Then comes the fire scene, where he reveals that he helped trap Firestar and tried to kill him, as well as intending on killing Lion J and Holly. He stays a threat until he is killed and is welcomed into StarClan. He eventually starts his master plan with Shadowpaw, and the rest of the arc plays from there. Ashfur proved himself time and time again to be intelligent and charismatic. He did something no other villain had done before: cut off the clan's... Through each arc, StarClan has been something of a guidance force. Cats always look for StarClan's guidance when there are problems, and the reader had started to get comfortable in their presence the same way that the clans do. Once this source of comfort is ripped away, the clans start to panic, and the reader no longer knows what they will do. Ashfur knew that by taking away one simple thing, he could make the clans panic and force them into a vulnerable state. He uses Shadowsight, something we'll come back to later, to acquire Bramblestar's body. This takes something that we trust and turns it on us once again, just how StarClan was taken from us, and now we had become used to Bramblestar, and he had been taken from us as well. Ashfur has always wanted to have Squirrelflight. It is a big part of his character that has been prominent in earlier arcs and is still seen here. How obsessive he is from the fire scene and, the other crazy stuff he does. So it's no surprise to them when he does something to try to get her back. His motivations are something that the reader can believe. So Ashfur has a connection to each of the main characters in this arc, except Rootspring, but that's besides the point. Especially if you count Squirrelflight as a fourth main character, which I do. His relationship with Bristlefrost develops quickly once he chooses her as deputy. She's so desperate for the approval of Bramblestar that she hurts her clanmates, and he eventually comes to rely on her the same way that she had come to trust and kind of need him in a sort of way. Goes behind his back. You feel the fear and the guilt that she feels. Ashfur's threatening, but he's also kind of pathetic. Bristlefrost looks at him and she feels bad for him when he is super sad that Squirrelflight quote-unquote died. And you kind of start to feel bad for him too, just for a moment, And then, of course, any relationship they had is shattered when she openly betrays him. But the Dark Forest makes the reader flinch too. You only wonder how she couldn't see what was wrong once you have the gift of foresight. So going on to the next relationship is Ashfur's relationship with Squirrelflight. It is, as it always was, a relationship based on lies, possessiveness, and manipulation. When he's pretending to be Bramblestar, he hides under the relationship that Squirrelflight and Bramblestar has. He tries to pretend to be more loving, follows the ruse that he's just a bit shaken up after losing a life, and he takes advantage of her trust in Bramblestar, and he is still the same possessive cat he always was, but now under a different mask, per se. He immediately insists that Squirrelflight spend the whole day with him, and that she never leaves his side, and that she stays in the den all day and abandons her duties as deputy. And all the while, he is becoming more and more cruel towards their clanmates. She doesn't question it at first, because she doesn't want to believe that her mate, that the real Bramblestar, could be in trouble. She doesn't want to believe that he could be actually almost gone, or possibly gone. And the scene where Bramblestar, or imposter Bramblestar, drags her from the den and throws her off of High Rock is so eerie. It's honestly terrifying to see how, even after all of the lies and the, I love you so much that he spits all the time, he's still willing to throw her off of a multiple foot fall. Like, that's crazy. But once he's revealed, he constantly, quote-unquote, forgives Squirrelflight for going against him. He lives in the same delusion over and over that she will love him back. When talking to Shadowsight, he says, so what about Squirrelflight? And do you think she'll visit me again? And his delusion of, she couldn't help what happened last time. The other leaders must have forced her into betraying me like that. They were listening to every word she said. If she hadn't betrayed me, they'd have made her a prisoner too. And the way he says it at first is like he really believes it. And even when Shadowsight brings up that, she doesn't want to be with him, he's like, but she will, because she's a real warrior, which is insane. He doesn't, but throughout the whole thing, he doesn't understand what she actually loves about Bramblestar, and he never gets what love actually is. He here says, I'm giving you one last chance. Bramblestar's not coming back. Don't you realize how I feel about you? I'm the only cat who loves you now, and I'm willing to forgive you for betraying me and making me prisoner. I can make you happier than you ever imagined. And Squirrelflight, of course, being the girl boss that she is yelling at him, and he's, I loved you through death. Doesn't that mean anything? I came back from StarClan to be with you. Bramblestar could never do that. No cat could. Don't you think you could learn to love me now that he's gone? Which, it just shows that he doesn't understand that Squirrelflight doesn't want just someone to love her. She wants a mate, and she wants someone, who could actually be good to her. And he doesn't realize that what he feels towards her is not a love, it's an obsession and possession. He talks about how, don't be mouse-brained. All of it will be worth it when I control the forest of the StarClan. We can be together, and I'll forgive you for betraying me to the clans. Notice how he always talks about how he's gonna forgive her, like he's doing her a favor. You must see I'm the better choice. Right now, with all the power I have over the Dark Forest and StarClan, I may be the most powerful cat who ever lived. And he doesn't understand that, she doesn't love Bramblestar for his power. And that at this line here, you could be the only cat left in the world, and I still wouldn't choose you. Not after everything you've done. And he's so delusional. He just doesn't get it, which is kind of just insane, I still love you, why are you forcing me to do this? And Squirrelflight is not one to let herself be manipulated, which we love a girl boss for that. But it's just so incredible it's crazy. Yeah. So he goes back and forth throughout all his interactions with her, between threats and displays of power and quote-unquote, love. And it's always just that his relationship with her has been that he doesn't love her and he wants her as an object for his affection. So he's acting through all of this under the rule of love, but we know that it's not real love. And then we get to his relationship, his connection with poor Shadowsight. So Shadowpaw was definitely a inexperienced medicine cat who wanted to be seen as anything other than unusual. His seizures from visions when he was a kid made him ostracized to his clan, seen as a weak medicine cat, or just something that everyone was kind of weird about. And Ashfur kind of just played upon this, and he became Ashfur's plaything. Ashfur convinced Shadowsight that he was special, and once he had Shadowpaw's trust, he told him to leave Bramblestar in the snow, leading to the leader's death and then possession. And Shadowsight is connected to Ashfur in every single way. Like, he received his medicine cat name because of him. And even after Ashfur tried to kill Shadowsight, leaving him for dead, he saw Ashfur as his responsibility, and him being the reason that Ashfur got to take over Bramblestar's body made him lose his position as a medicine cat, and he felt really alone and lost the trust of his clanmates, the praise he received, everything. But Ashfur was there, and Shadowsight had to take care of him, and Ashfur was his only place to be a medicine cat. So Ashfur talks to him without any pity like his clanmates do. You know, saying, "What have you got for me today? I need some exercise." Shadowsight's allowed to just be a medicine cat around him, even though he's also being threatened. He's being complimented, and he's being allowed to do something that he loves, you know? Ashfur says to him, "You're still a good medicine cat, but what's the point of being good at healing if you're not allowed to heal anymore? And when I'm gone, what are you gonna do then?" So he makes Shadowsight feel like he has to stay with him. And when Shadowsight asks him, you know, "Why do you enjoy making other cats miserable?" Ashfur immediately changes the subject. "We're more alike than you think," connecting himself to him further and kind of melding the two together. "I'm a warrior who's not a warrior, and you're a medicine cat who's not a medicine cat." Ashfur digs into him, makes Shadowsight dependent on him, makes him feel useless, and hurts him, and just he feels so dependent on him, you know? And Shadowsight talks to Ashfur about why he chose him. You were young and impressionable. You already could share with StarClan. It helped that you were Tigerstar's son. Anyone who'd question you would have to answer to him. And, you know, didn't you care about what would happen to me? Not at the time. And Ashfur, you know, though you feel guilty that you ruined my life, I never feel guilty. I don't think I've ruined your life. And then, maybe you should stop feeling sorry for yourself. You're still a medicine cat, aren't you? And you're natural. Shadowsight, I am? You've had visions from StarClan since you were a kid. You were perceptive enough to hear my messages. I may have been smarter than I thought choosing you. I'm beginning to see that there may be something about you after all. Something very special. Indeed. Ashfur compliments him when he's at his lowest. He takes jabs at him and didn't really care about him ever, but right after this, he convinces Shadowsight to just let him go, that he's too powerful, that he would make, he had to let Ashfur go in order to save Bramblestar's body, and made him feel even more responsible for Ashfur, and it caused him to keep risking his life to fight him. And Ashfur still is connected to Shadowsight, and Shadowsight is connected to him. Shadowsight says that every word was like poison, like snake venom dripping into a pool, but it's helped me understand him. And so he's able to see and search for Ashfur by having these thoughts and focusing on what Ashfur wants, this vengeance, this obsession. And one time when he searches for Ashfur, he finds himself. Ashfur, he lets his thoughts call out to the Dark Warrior. He felt the air around him glow cold, as though Leaf Bear had rushed in, and without warning, and snapped open his eyes. He looked around. He was standing at the bottom of a steep hill, the forest behind him. The grass was muddy and trampled, the sky black, starless. Dark water lapped at his tail as he looked at the slope. At the top, the silhouette of a warrior cut a shadow against the sky. The Tom's back was turned, and Shadowsight called out, "Ashfur?" Fear tightened in his throat as the Tom turned around slowly, his face lit with an eerie light that seemed to shine from within. As his gaze reached Shadowsight, his heart seemed to burst and dread engulfed him. It was his own face staring down at him. He searches for Ashfur and he just finds himself. He loses the line between himself and Ashfur, and he starts feeling like he might be as bad as him. And even though at the end of the book, Shadowsight says that the darkness Ashfur had within him is gone, but the memory will never leave him, and he will never have that connection to Starkland. Ashfur took everything from him, and he'll always be connected to the warrior, no matter where he is. Anyways, so Ashfur is such a good villain because he is nothing like we've ever seen before. No cat has ever given these kinds of false signs, cut Starkland off, possessed a living cat's body. Even before the Dark Forest, we are scared of him. We see him do things that nobody knew was possible, and we can't blame Shadowsight for letting him free. We can't blame the clans for being scared of him, for not knowing what to do. We can't blame Squirrelflight for not wanting to kill Bramblestar's body, because, what if it really does kill him forever? He continues to surprise us throughout the entire book, like the entire arc. We get to the Dark Forest, and, he kills Willowshine immediately, and then takes over her. And he has control over all of the dead cats there. He's destroying the Dark Forest. He is this big, powerful being, yet he is just so pathetic. He's not like anything we could have expected. His death is so unsatisfying, too. Losing Bristlefrost forever hits so hard. You don't even realize he was defeated. You can't feel happy that he's gone because you're grieving over a character you've come to love, and you've just read the most heartbreaking scene. You've just watched a character die, sacrifice themselves, their entire being, to get rid of this cat, and you can't even be happy that he's gone. He leaves an irreversible mark and dares to make the books an unsatisfying read. Ashfur and the Broken Coat arc are the most unexpected and daring arc, and it is honestly impossible not to love.